Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I saw the pic that was linked in chat. It made me smile. It also made me kind of... But that's okay, because we're back with Daily 610. We're watching Major just do his mechy thing. One thing to note is that Major's supply count is quite a ways ahead at this point. It's really easy to be like, oh my god, he's winning, he must have done some critical damage. It was a mix of this Banshee harassment from Ryung didn't do quite as much, but also that these Hellions build really fast and eat up a lot of supply. If we actually look at the army mixes, or the army makeup, we see quite a bit more in the minerals. And that's really these Hellions. Actually, these 8 Hellions. If we remove these 8 Hellions, they're about even in supply. Nice. So we're going to go ahead and continue on from Major's point of view and start to see this map control really step in. Blue Flame Hellion, eagerly looking for any opportunity to roast any of these Marines at all. And this will force much of the force to stay together. And we see Major also doing some nice spotting on the right. Don't forget that on a map like this, you can always cut down and do pokes like this if you have enough tanks up for defense. So, one of the interesting things that we're also seeing here that's very commonplace in with Mech in general, but especially in Mech vs. Bio, is that the starport is the next big thing that needs to get the reactor up. We see these 2 factories here. It's very easy to see the starport building the reactor and go, oh, alright, well, it's just going to land. He's going to get a lot of Hellbats up. But getting the Hellbats into the medevacs is super freaking important, man. It's so unreal freaking important. So, look at this gorgeous, seamless transition. In the opening game, the opening stages, it was all Hellions and Blue Flame Hellions to help us stay alive. The instant that Ryung begins to step forward and assert map control, we have Blue Flame. We can actually go for these Hellbat drops again. Nice! So Major has been very forward and aggressive all game long. I want you to note that this Hellbat drop is functioning a little differently than how you'd think of a traditional Hellbat drop. Normally when you see the Hellbat drop, you're thinking, alright, well, in Mech vs. Mech, these are just really good, I'm going to try to get in there. But Bio can screw up medevac drops really easily, because Marines shoot up, and now they have stim and combat shield. So what really Major's doing is saying, I invite you to attack me, because if you're attacking me, look at the positioning of all the units. They're here, there's some medevacs there, oh, Banshee, but, I mean, the rally points at the front. This base is totally undefended. This is the exact reason that Protoss players get warp prisms against Terran. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why the medevacs are so important. Being able to drop on the tanks. In particular, as we'll see later on in this game, when you just say stim go, the tanks are going to be way far behind the Marine Marauder, making the Hellbat drops all the better. So look at this just like dismantling. So good. Alright, so we've been holding an edge for most of this game. Now we're getting up our farces. Alright, cool. We're just maneuvering around, trying to deal as much harassment as possible. We just had a whole bunch of Marine Marauder pull back into the main base to defend this drop. So we can do these continued drops to apply pressure and keep our opponent contained. Now this second medevac drop, very different from the first one that we saw. We are seeing this Bioforce pull back and stay home. What a wondrous opportunity for everything we frickin' own to move out. As we'll also note, Sensor Tower is going down along the most vulnerable side, which is of course this one because it has a ground opening. This one, you'll note, does not have a ground opening, has an air opening, so Major's setting up the missile turret defense for the most droppable side, the Sensor Tower defense for the most swing-inable side, and hell, a lot of missile turrets too. And is only doing this as he is moving out. We're going to see this all in quite fast motion, but it's important that we see these in slow motion first, because we're seeing, wow, that timing lines up. These actually just got built. Wow. And he's moving out because he just caused this Marine maraudering player to pull back. Now, Ryung is no slouch. Ryung inevitably beat Major in the WCS Group A to qualify. But look, now Major has this insane opportunity to crush through. He's put Ryung on a defensive footing all game long, and now does great things like this with the medevacs. Those forces that we built early on for map control now being quite useful to pick off nearby medevacs. We can send in some Hellbats to either defend these tanks, or we can send Hellbats to pick off his tanks. Remember when I said the Marine Marauder tend to get way ahead? Generally, this is the look of it. Where, you know, you'll have your whole tank line, and the Marine Marauder will be swinging up, and there'll be like 7 tanks here, and then you just drop a couple of Hellbats onto them, and boom. See you later. Especially in these aggressive spots, the more we pick away at the tanks, the more easily we can waltz on forward. This single Banshee's being such a dick. And again, we see that the stim move forward with the tanks at the backside is exactly what we want to always exploit as a mech player. While all this is going on, we saw that there was a command center built into a planetary fortress here. Really cool move. Where to expand next? Very easy. Here is where we expand next for 2 reasons. One, I mean, there's no way in hell we can easily defend this. This is just the easiest to defend for mech anyways. But more importantly, too, we have this whole army here protecting anything from moving from here up to the base. I mean, this player would have to swing a drop up and through like this, which would walk right into our reinforcement line. Always good to expand behind your push when meching. So yep, Major is just crushing here. He's like 4 base, getting more command centers versus a low base guy. You will wind up with a lot of extra money when you get to these 20-minute marks, and the best thing to do is to spend them on command centers, because then you can slowly just kill off your SCVs and replace them with mules. It's really good. And then he dominates. I think one thing that's also important to note is that at this point in the game, we're seeing that Major has really slowed his push down tremendously. In fact, he slowed it down so much it's dead now. But he didn't move much far beyond this entry point right here. As is quite common with mech, you sprint to where you set up and then you ooze forward. Ryung, though, like a boss, re-expanding a lot. And at this point, it's the utter dominance of army size that allows Major to pull in, but still doing smart tactics like Hellbat dropping while pushing. And great. We're going to watch a second game in a moment. But damn, that was good. Alright, I want to do the ultra-fast recap before we head into the next game. Because, as we learned yesterday, these are quite awesome. Or maybe it was 2 dailies ago. It was that PvP daily. So he goes for Reaper, followed by Reaper, not only to have enough defense in case the opponent goes Reaper, but also to get the gas up, to get the factory, also to do a little bit of scouting and a little bit of pressure, like this. Upon seeing this, we can pretty clearly note our opponent is in fact going for something fast tech related. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for Starport, Mass Hellion, and because Banshees tend to strike right at around 7 minutes, as we will see with this Banshee, we will move into strike also at 7 minutes at your base, because you don't have your second Banshee up. You hardly have anything up. So Major's able to deal a good chunk of damage. Not amazing, but a reasonable amount. Now Major, for map control, is going to be building tons of Hellions. To get enough minerals to do that, Major spends his gas dealing with the Banshees. First getting a Raven, and then slowly getting Vikings. Major also delays picking up gas. What? He's delaying gas as a meching player? Hell yeah, man. He's going to get his command center first. Even though he's spending gas to deal with the Banshees, he's stockpiling gas so that way he can go swift double factory. When he goes double factory, that's when he throws down the double refinery. So that way, he can have absolutely everything he needs up when it's time to go for the ultra-fast third base with Mech. These Hellions, in combination with these nice little mines, controlling the center space, going for Blue Flame right away, which is going to assist our transition into Hellbats. There is the expansion landing. There's the defense up, so that way we don't have to build excess turrets against anything obnoxious like Banshees. And we're also beginning to add in a couple more starports. So right when our opponent begins to move out, we can establish a counter drop. We hold off the drop. We use our medevac to do a little damage, and our counter medevac drop also does a little bit of damage. Alright, while that's going on, we see Major get the sensor tower and get the turret, get all the turrets up here, because he's setting up his second drop. The second drop, not to try to exploit the Marines being out of position, but instead to exploit the fact that Ryung wants to defend. This allows Major to set up in the right spot, and then from here on out, Major does the slow push. He does the slow push, and he crushes this guy into gross mush. That's pretty good. And it's all downhill from here for Ryung. Really nice little control-y matchup. We're going to go ahead and close and watch something a little bit more complicated of a game. It's going to be their game on Belshir Vestige, or as I like to call it, Belshir Vestige, because I like the movie The Prestige. Jesus, that loaded fast. This computer is awesome. It's the same computer I always use, but damn, is it good. So, Major is the person we actually want to watch. Wapsy daisies, Mr. Major. Call upon your emergency pager. Because it's time for a different build order. Okay, so, fundamentally speaking, almost anything we do that involves an early geyser is going to be good. Look at this build. Major lands right away to begin this Hellion production. AFAP, as fast as possible. Goes for the tech lab on the barracks, or at least I think he intended to. Well, whatever. No, he's going for Viking. Okay. Has he scouted anything yet? Nope. Oh yeah, that's right. He goes Viking first, and then he's going to be going Hellion. So we can already see the sort of inklings of the same structure that we saw Major do last game, except, gosh, there's no expansion. Golly! And why would he go for this delayed Banshee, you might say? Well, indeed, Major doesn't know. Oh, crap. Really important thing I forgot to note. Oh my god, it was so important. What if our opponent in the last game was going Mech? Why is what Major is doing very good? Major has the Banshee, 3 Vikings, and the Raven. This will allow him to pick off early tank pushes should they come out. And if his opponent also tries to go for a whole bunch of Hellions, that's what the Blue Flame is for. So then Major can stay toe-to-toe with map control. Going back. Into the game. Very common response we saw. Alright. Double Widow Mine. But why get Banshees so late, you might say? Well, believe it or not, he's not going to do that. He's getting a Raven. And there it is. It's a Raven. Thus far, Major's done a perfectly satisfactory job holding this off. Banshee's moving forward for Ryung. When does a Cloaked Banshee normally get there? Around 7 minutes. And conspicuously, we notice that this is going to arrive at around 7:10. So Major did go 4 Hellions. and then 2 Widow mines, which he has one burrowed here. Where's the other mine? There it is. It's out in the middle of the map. Is this the mine that's going to get picked off? Whatever. Whatever. And look at this. Look at this. Look at this magnificent timing. Look at this. Oh, so freaking magnificent timing. Dun, 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 dun. And now Ryung's like, I got him. Oh, no. Oh, no. And Major is going to be super well defended with his mines. Now, one thing that might be odd to note is you might be saying, okay, well, this is different. We are seeing Cloaked Banshee come out. Why Cloaked Banshee? It's a rather simple answer. We delayed this expansion, which means we don't have as many minerals. We actually got earlier gas. So we have fewer minerals, a lot more gas, and we have the same problems that we would have had last game. How do I deal with early tank pushes? How do I deal with... what are some other things to note? Oh yeah, him also getting a whole bunch of Hellions. How do I apply any pressure to him? Last game we saw Major move in with his Hellions and Reapers and do an attack. Well, cool. We're going to do a gas-based solution. This cloaking field. Now it's pretty cheap, thanks to that recent patchy change. We see Major doing some nice tactics. Pushing forward with the Hellions, so that way he can burrow the mines right at the front. We see all the mines moving way far forward now. Going for a second command center. Why do that? Because, well, we're damn behind on minerals, so I'm just going to get a lot of... I'm going to make up for this lack of early minerals by getting a lot of minerals later with this early command center. There you go. So, last game we saw Blue Flame Hellion as the fundamental thing holding the opponent back, and we, in the mid game, and we saw Hellion Reaper as a thing holding our opponent in the early game. In this circumstance, still the same stuff going on. An early game contain. And soon to be more mid-game contain, thanks to this mass Hellion influx. So we would not be surprised to see more Blue Flame Hellions pull on in. This is kind of cool, these mines burrowed all up on over. Even though we do see Ryung have a Raven up, it's still going to force the opponent to be quite defensive. Oh, apparently that point I made was just so boring that my body had to yawn. Oh my god. How exhausting. The only potential error we could talk about right now is the fact that this starport could land here and begin making Vikings all the same, while these factories steal it in a surreptitious fashion. But we saw the Blue Flame contain going on, or I should say the Mass Hellion plus Blue Flame, as the technique that Major was using in the mid-game. But here the mines are doing a lot of this work until we have enough Hellions to begin moving out. Now, Belshire Vestige is a little different than Neoplanet S. In Neoplanet S, you don't have a lot of angles of engagement, but here we're going to have 3 big ones. One is here, with this ramp. The other is the third in total. I mean, I know there's 2 entrances here, but this is really just... This will either go to the third or go to the natural, so it's really 1, 2 big points, and then a huge third. This is really significant, so... What does that mean for Major's composition? Let us take a look. Alright. Alright, Major, come on. Make your decision. Ah! Blue Flame. Blue Flame Hellion before tank, before any of that shenaniganry. Getting an armory so that way soon enough he can get his Hellbats up. How many Banshees does he have out right now? Well, he has 1 up at the front, but he also has a second one all the way back here. And I think this is a good halting moment, where we see Major continuing to move out with a ton of Blue Flame Hellions. And we can see the contain be a lot more active in this circumstance. all the same kind of looking stuff is going on back here. I mean, we have the starport to be able to go for medevacs, but... Uh-oh, another point of interest. And this is because, still, yet again, Ryung doesn't really have stim or combat shield yet, so even though this move out is nice and bio-like and very aggressive, the Hellions of Flaming Blue are going to force it all back. Can you believe that that many Hellions still two-shot? And then Marines really die really fast. Really, really, really. So we're seeing that Major is not doing one of these very specific, 6 Hellions and then transition, 4 Hellions and then transition. He's just getting a shitload of Hellions and then transitioning. And yet again, we see the same sort of moves. Oh, wow, let me get up a whole lot of these. Missile turrets up. Wow, let me get up a lot of these kind of spreading around. I think he gets up one in the middle eventually. I can't quite remember, but this game is going to go on for a little bit longer. So that's what we'll do in part 3. In part 1 and 2, we saw a pretty simple game from Major, where he just did a couple really nice key plays, and there you go. Got him. Got him. In this game, we saw a completely different opening from Major. Really, really, really fast Raven with Viking, and then delayed Expo, but a quick double Expo. And now we're going to answer the question, now that Major has done this same map contain with this Blue Flame, what's his next step to be able to really crunch in, given that he's not getting some sort of huge, nice benefit from aggressive drops yet? We'll answer that when we come back.